So now what I wanted to show you is that um, is the Fast Track AI generation of the set of aligners that you provided for your patient. So to do that, go ahead and click on the Upload File button, then click on Aligner. It's already selected as the default. And then go ahead and we'll rename the folder. We already have the default aligner profile selected. So we'll do that. Perfect. And then we'll go ahead and choose our files. So click Choose File, and we're going to do our aligner case. So what I want to show you before we do anything else is that you have the ability to not only upload STL files, but you can also upload XML files. The individual STL files will just be uploaded individually. You can upload up to 12 files at once, whether that's any combination of uppers or lowers, or just lowers. It's up to 12 files, and that's just what we recommend for the most efficient processing. Um, and you can always do another batch generation if you have more that you'd like to design that day. Um, but what's really nice that we have the ability to do now is if you click on the drop down next to STL in the lower right, you actually have the ability to select XML. So go ahead and click that. And what you'll see here is that you have an XML file that came with your treatment export. Go ahead and click on that and then click open. You'll notice that all of the files have been automatically uploaded here just by uploading your XML. I'll go into some more detail about exactly what the XML is and why it's different than just uploading STLs. And so go ahead and click confirm. You'll notice that that folder has now appeared first in the list. Go ahead and click generate on that case. Go ahead and click pay. And actually, let's go ahead and upload that again. And only because we don't want to include these zeros for our generation. So we'll go ahead and just exit out of those from the list. So now we have our 8 that we actually want to generate for this patient. So go ahead and click generate now on that folder. Click pay now that it's 8 points, steps 1 through 4, and it will begin the generation process for this aligner set. So before we go too much into exactly what we just went through with aligner and the differences between that and retainer, I quickly wanted to talk about this payments and credits um, that you've been seeing. I know when you click on generate, it asks you to pay some points. So I wanted to just kind of cover that first before we get too far. So essentially what's happening here is with the payments and credits, it is in fact Fast Track AI being a premium offering in LuxDesign that utilizes AI to generate the aligners and retainers. So you are provided enough credits to serve up to 100 patients that are doing a 20-step treatment plan and with a follow-up retainer. So you do get a base amount of points that you can decide to use in any way that you'd like. So if you don't want to use Fast Track AI, and that is our paid service, you do have an always free option, and that is our manual mode that you'll see in the upper right corner here. In manual, it's essentially the manual design of your appliances. So you're not drawing from a Fast Track AI engine for the entire design process. But we won't get too much into that today at all. We are focusing on Fast Track AI just for the sake of time and because this is the design side that most users will use for the efficiency and for the unattended time. But you can get more information about manual mode through our online learning platform, Lux Academy, and from our support website if you had questions. So just to talk a little bit more about this payments and credits tab, you'll notice in the upper left corner here, you have this tab called payments and credits. When you click into this, you will be able to see not only the amount of aligner and retainer credits that you have currently, but it also shows you a list that's essentially showing what's been deducted every time you generate. So in this case, it'll show me that I've clicked generate and have deducted 8 aligner credits. So it's going to show me a history of what I've generated. that shows how many subtracted points there are from my points that are shown for me in that tab. It also allows you to purchase and see the different plans um, within the app. So you're able to make purchases here for aligner and retainer credits. I will say that when you do want to purchase more credits, if you're running low, make sure you do that before you have a large amount of files you'd like to generate, as it can take up to 1 business day for those points to be reflected in your account. So always make sure that you're staying up to date on the amount of points that you have and you're aware of the amount of points you have. And you do that by checking that payments and credits tab. So a little bit about the interface that we're seeing here. So the tabs that you'll see around the payments and credits tab are going to be things such as checking for updates. It's always really important to make sure your software is up to date, so you're enjoying the latest fixes and features to the software. Um, a really nice thing about the fixes and features is that with our support website, you can always generate tickets to actually make feature requests for the software as you begin to use it and you notice things that could be improved or that you'd like to add. You could always generate a feature request with us at LuxCreo support from our support website. By emailing to support@luxcreo.com, and we will take that into consideration. And oftentimes, doctors will see their suggestions reflected in new updates of the software. A really good example of that is doctors wanting to search for their patients instead of just scrolling the list. So it's really important that you're always up to date. So do so by checking for updates often. A lot of the updates will be pushed over the air, but if you miss it for whatever reason, you're able to check for it there. You can also see the version that you're currently on. You're also able to change some settings in your app. You can also make sure that you are authorized if we have new material, like offerings or anything like that, especially for LuxFlow, which we'll go into more later. It's important that you're staying authorized. So yeah, that is a little bit more about the interface. I wanted to also touch on the profile tab here. We've been working in the design tab. And for design, this is essentially where you would just see your list of folders and actually add new folders to generate. The profile tab is actually where you can see the 2 default profiles that come with the solution, but then also where you can add more profiles. It's a very similar process to adding a new folder, except you're adding a profile and making selections about the design. Um, and so really what that is you're choosing your AI engine for retainers. And that's really just a matter of um, choosing the AI engine that allows you to create the trim line that you'd like. And it tells you exactly what trim lines each AI engine allows you to create. For Lux AI, it allows you to only do straight trim lines. Lux AI Pro allows you to do straight, scalloped, and hybrid. It's really up to you. There's no cost difference. It's just what trim line that you prefer. It allows you to choose your gap fill, and that is based on the anatomy of your patient. The gap fill is going to be that engineering tolerance between the aligner that's created or retainer that's created and your model or scan that you're working from. And that's going to allow you to have a comfortable fit. And it kind of goes into detail about exactly what that is and the different anatomies that each gap fill is used for. So children, adults, seniors. And then it also goes into thickness and thickness type that you're also able to select. So while we're on the topic of that, these aligners have all finished. And now that they've finished, I can, of course, go in and do my whole inspect and edit. I won't do any edit trimline because, of course, that costs another point since we have to regenerate, and I'm happy with the results. So I'll click inspect and edit just so I can show you something here. I'll show you that the parts have actually been automatically labeled, as you can see. So what's really nice about that is the XML has allowed us to automatically label our parts. So we don't have to. If I did want to come in here and make additional labels, I can do so. But that's part of the beauty of the XML versus your standard just uploading the STLs individually. The XML actually contains the information about your labels, so you're able to do auto labeling. So unlike what we did for the retainer where we went and labeled each one, Now, with this XML export from your treatment planning software, you now can do auto labeling. So I don't have to do a thing. I can trust that my parts have been labeled. So I'll check like maybe this one, inspect and edit. And you can see now that this has also been labeled. It's done an L and a U to represent upper lower, and it's numbered them according to the step that it is on. So this will make it really easy when we have our print come off the printer and we want to differentiate between each appliance that's created. So I'll go back to the folder list, and I want to quickly show you before we do anything the profile. So you can see that we have our defaults here. These cannot be changed. But before we get too far into LuxFlow, I wanted to just quickly show you adding profiles. So when you click Add Profile, this is what you'll see when you want to make a new profile for yourself to select when you are adding a new folder to your list and want to generate something, and you don't want to use the defaults. Here's how you create other profiles that you can use. You can name the profile so it's easy for you to differentiate between all of the different ones you might create. You choose the application you're creating it for, whether that's a liner or retainer, and then you'll go ahead and choose for a liner, it's asking you to choose your gap fill. If you hover over this, it'll show you exactly what that is. It's going to automatically apply like a digital blockout in the interproximal regions of the teeth. And it's going to be that orange area that's glowing right now between the actual appliance that's created and your model. You can choose to do no blockout based on the anatomy, or some blockout, a moderate amount of blockout, or a lot of blockout. And that's just based on the anatomy that we typically see for children, adults, seniors. Um, with children, you can imagine the teeth are not fully erupted. You might have really poor undercuts. The opposite's true for seniors who might even have some like gum deterioration. So you want a lot of blockout for the most comfortable fit. This is our default that you'll see in both the default parameters, because this is what we are generating aligners and retainers for most adults. Um, you also have the ability to choose your thickness. So if you hover over this, it kind of shows you exactly what that is, and that is the thickness of the appliance. You can use the scroll to go as low as 0.6 millimeters or as high as 1.2. Um, and then you go ahead and choose your thickness type, whether that's uniform, thin occlusal, gradient thin, or customized thickness. This kind of goes into some of those benefits of the 4D aligners versus thermoformed that we spoke about earlier. And when I say uniform thickness, that is a very true uniform thickness. Even with thermoformed appliances, even the model height will create variation on the occlusal surface for if it's too thin or maybe it's too thick. Um, you have the ability to thin or gradient thin the occlusal surface. Gradient thin is going to be even more thin towards the posterior. This is really just a matter of what your patient or you have a preference for. Most people are going to do default, and that is our uniform thickness. And then customized thickness is kind of that multivariable thickness that I spoke about earlier, that allows the thickness to be automatically added here. And so you can change the slider. And that will apply this additional thickness to the areas experiencing the most amount of movement. Again, that's an automatic application. You don't have to do anything. And it's going to make an appliance that's extremely efficient, but not going to be too bulky or really felt a difference in the mouth for the patient between something like uniform or this. You really don't feel the difference. So for aligners, you'll have PTS files that are exported with your dental model exports. Essentially what that is, your PTS files are trimline files that you've created. They must be saved in the same folder when you do your aligner upload so that the software can draw those trim lines into the design. If you don't have trim lines for whatever reason with your software, maybe you opted not to make them, or maybe your treatment planning software doesn't have them, you would check this box and AI would automatically be invoked to create those trim lines for you. Now, what's a little bit different for retainers, if you select retainer, go ahead and click OK on the pop-up. It's the same one we saw earlier. Is now you see, of course, you have the same options here, but now you see this AI engine. When you do the AI engine, you're essentially going to pick between LuxAI and LuxAI Pro. You'll notice with LuxAI, like I mentioned earlier, you only have the ability to do a straight line. Versus LuxAI Pro, you have the ability to now do a scalloped or a hybrid trim line. Again, the cost is no different to you. It's just a matter of what trim line you'd like to pick. Lux AI Pro straight, Lux AI straight is going to be the same result. Um, and straight trim line anyway is going to be the option that most doctors select if you imagine a straight trim line. Um, when you are finishing your appliances, it's going to be the easiest to remove the supports and buff the edge of. So once you create your profiles, you name them, you click save, and then those new profiles actually appear in this list. You can always edit these at any time to change things like the amount of gap fill, thickness, your thickness type, all of that. And you can also remove them from the list. Your aligner and retainer defaults cannot be edited or removed from the list. So going back to design, I want to make sure that we just covered off everything. We went through the 3 different generations. I'll go ahead and delete this one from the list since we did not do it. So these top 3 generations are what we had completed today. 2 retainers from the LuxCreo provided set, 2 retainers from your provided set, and then 8 aligners from your provided patient treatment. So now that we've completed these, I want to show you how you would export them into LuxFlow. So to do so, you could have done this during the generation process. So once your appliances have been generated, you could then just pop those into LuxFlow and come back here and continue to generate more, pop those into LuxFlow. Or you could do what I'm showing you now, and that is to click on the Export to LuxFlow button now. You'll notice this application window has popped up. This is from LuxFlow because we already had it open. So what we'll do is I'll just click on the LuxDesign window to make sure that I don't do anything with that LuxFlow pop-up, and then go ahead and click OK. That's just showing you that the appliances had successfully been transferred over there. Do the same thing for your retainers to LuxFlow. The application window pops up again. You'll notice that now there are 2 more files. So all 4 of our files are here. And then we'll do the same for the aligners. So go ahead and click on export there to LuxFlow. And now your entire aligner case that we generated and your 2 retainer sets are all here. You'll notice the file type ending is LNX. We have our application window for LuxFlow. So before we do anything, I'm going to have you click back into LuxDesign, click OK on the export succeeded. And then we'll go ahead and before we end, I want to just make sure everything's been covered. So we did those 3 generations. We talked about how you would upload a file for retainers and aligners. We talked about the differences. For aligners, I just wanted to emphasize that you do have the ability to upload not only your STLs, but also your XML. The XML is something that allows you to do auto labeling. We walked through what the profiles are and how you create a new one. And then we also talked about some of these other tabs in the interface that you can see, especially payments and credits. So now what we'll do is we'll minimize this LuxDesign window.